Fantastic, Mr. Chairman. We are ready, sir.
All right, I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. As always, let's start with the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt the agenda. Anybody have anything we need to add to the agenda this afternoon? You got anything down there? Anybody? Nope. What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, let's start with public comment. General public comment. Yes, sir, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Elias, and I'm coming on behalf of the Code of Ethics, the zoning ordinance, and the comprehensive plan of Madison County, because I believe the last ruling for the reasons why the Hart SUP was passed had nothing to do, or very little to do, with the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, and I believe the Code of Ethics was violated by some of the members, not only on the Planning Commission through the whole process, but also with some of the Board of Supervisors, and I'll tell you why. The preamble states, and everybody has read, all you guys have read and signed this, correct? Everybody understands it. It says at the bottom that this is how we're supposed to conduct ourselves as the government of Madison County. It says the citizens and businesses of Madison County, Virginia are entitled to have fair, ethical, and accountable local government which has earned the public's full confidence for integrity in keeping with the County of Madison's commitment to excellence. The effective functioning of democratic government therefore requires that the public officials, both elected and appointed, comply with both the letter and the spirit of the laws and policies affecting the operations of government. That public officials be independent, impartial, and fair in their judgment and actions. That public office be used for the public good, not for personal gain, and that the public deliberations and processes be conducted openly, unless legally confidential, in an atmosphere of respect and civility. To this end, the Madison County Board of Supervisors has adopted this Code of Ethics for members of the board of the county's boards, commissions, committees to assure public confidence in the integrity of local government and its effective and fair operation. Number one, recognizing that stewardship of the public interest must be their primary concern, members will work for the common good of the people of Madison County and not for any private or personal interest. They will assure fair, equal treatment of all persons, claims, and transactions coming before Madison County Board of Supervisors, boards, commissions, and committees. And it goes on to list these. Now, on one of the planning commissions, January 21st, I sent Ligon an ethics complaint because of what took place here. Mr. Jackson was there and also Mr. Buchanan. And that was where the Planning Commission had said, and Patricia had said somehow that the neighbors were hateful, fearful, presented lies. This was from Faye Boots. One person said on the board in some planning, was not about the merit and substance, but it was about care for animals. Now, when we make decisions here, and I've been here for just a few months, in the zoning ordinance on pages 88, and it's code 14-4-2, 14-4-1. It says, the Board of Supervisors, following recommendation by the Planning Commission, may grant conditionally the application for special use permit when in its judgment such special use permit application complies with the following standards. And it lists all the standards that it has to comply, not just one, not two, not anything other than these. Such use shall not be objectionable by reason of smoke, dust, odor, or vibration. The use shall not tend to change the character and established pattern of development in the area. The use shall be in harmony with the intent of the zoning district and shall not adversely affect the use of neighboring property, welfare of persons living and working in the neighborhood of the proposed use, the location of the height of buildings, location of walls, fences, screening, entrances, lighting, parking, nature of landscaping on site shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate use and development of adjacent land and buildings or impair the value thereof. Such use will be in conformity with the intent and recommended land use of the comprehensive plan of Madison County, Virginia, unless it can be shown that the comprehensive plan for Madison County, Virginia is in error with respect to the subject property. The proposed use shall not violate any ordinance of Madison County or any law of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, I want to say something because when another lawyer from Culpeper brought up the difference between a kennel, which is very vague in the zoning ordinance, and it differentiates between what a kennel is and what an animal shelter is. And the lawyer, I do have a problem with you, sir. When I brought this up at one of the meetings in the development committee, you took me in the back office and you said, and you can ask me if not, you took me back, I'm not sure why you took me in the back office, but you said that these are squishy for some reason, and I have a problem with that because at the beginning, as I read, it says, comply with both the letter and spirit of the laws and policies. And when you look at the A1 zoning and kennel, it meets the criteria of the kennel that's over here across from us right now. It's a private owned, it's a boarding place, and that's what that kennel is, and that's the intent of A1 zone, okay? It's not an animal shelter that's 15,000 square feet that brings animals from who knows, they couldn't tell us where, from all over the state or even out of state. They're totally different, and that's what was communicated here from the beginning. And nobody heard that. What you heard was, and what you said was, oh, the neighbors are just mad. They're just mad because it's here. No, we're not mad about a kennel. I'm mad. I would be mad if you want to put 5 kennels in the neighborhood because it's out of balance. Okay, that's why we have, laws even in subdivisions. We're only going to allow a certain amount of houses here in a subdivision. It's the same kind of thing. Now,
Mr. Elias.
They are different.
Mr. Elias, you're at 8 minutes. 3 minutes is the time. I'll let you go over. Try to wrap up pretty promptly.
Okay, and you're going to hear me, sir, because our lives depend on it, and so does all of Madison County.
The bylaws of this are 3 minutes is the way we interact. I've let you go for 8 minutes now.
Judd Buchanan said that his mission and our mission was for the animals. That was the reason, and I'll quote, helping animals in general, I think that's our mission, whether they come from Northern Virginia or not. That has nothing to do with the decision. You're biased in animal activism. You shouldn't have voted on that the other day, according to the ethics, the Code of Ethics. Cardi Yao, you misquoted Mr. Gessler saying he purchased an A1 property thinking it would be residential. No, what he says was A1 zone is residential, and that's part of the right in an A1 zone. What he did say was he said a commercial operation would devalue the area. That's what he said. You misquoted him there. Also, you said that you represented 14,000 and not the 24 people immediately affected. Mr. Jackson, you said yours were property rights, sir. You took the property rights of Hart, a commercial, nonprofit business, over all the neighbors except for maybe one or two in that area. Now, if I was a property owner in Madison County, the precedent you just set was anybody that you guys rejected due to the neighbors' concerns should come back here and demand that you change your ruling, sir. Every one of you. You have changed, you have violated the zoning ordinance, the code of ethics, and the comprehensive plan. If you look at this, do you know the goals, sir, Mr. Buchanan? The comprehensive goals that we have for Madison County?
This
Yes.
is
Do you know?
public,
Yes.
Mr. Elias.
Okay.
It's 10 minutes.
Okay.
We're not.
Well, I'm filing a ethics complaint for the board. I'm asking for a revote that Mr. Cardial, Mr. Buchanan not vote at all on that, on the Hart. And you guys can do with what you want, but you're saying you're representing Madison County. I think we should actually put that to the test and get some of the Madison County's input on this, because you guys violated all these orders. And Jonathan Weekly, I'm asking you to address these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Elias. Other public comment? Yes, sir, please. Try to keep to 3 minutes. We're fairly lenient in it, but please try.
Tommy Carney,
Yes, sir.
live in Waylands Mill Road. I agree 100% with Mike here. The issue the other night was clear. All the residents were against this, and you guys voted, or two of you guys voted, for the one person that brought no value to the county. I was sitting on my porch at lunch today, and the dogs from the kennel were barking. I was going to bring my recording and say, let me record this and bring it to you guys. I know our hands are kind of tied because of the way the policies and procedures are. But I know one thing, Mr. Judd Buchanan. If this dog kennel was going to be put next to your 6 Airbnbs, you would have said no, because your reviews would have gone right down the toilet, okay? Any case, I agree 100% with Mike and whatever we can do to help resolve this. And if we can't do anything to resolve this, because it's done, maybe the planning commission, maybe you guys can work with us, okay? Work with us with the planning commission, or not the permit commission. There's like one other thing coming up here that they have to go through.
Site plan through the planning commission.
Oh, maybe the site planning could help. I don't know if there's anything about the noise and the stuff they have to put in, but maybe you guys can work with us on that a little bit. Okay?
Yes, sir. Other public comment? Other public comment? All right, thank you. We'll do it again here shortly. Constitutional officers, county departments, committees, and organizations. Let's start. Ms. Dotson, why don't we start with you? Come on up.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Welcome.
So a few things. I'll explain the pictures and the VDAX report after I go over the rest of this. So Weaver Works came out and did some much-needed cleanup around the shelter. I would like to give them a huge thank you. They did a wonderful job getting rid of some briars and some overgrown brush. I'd also like to thank Mooney. He made it possible so we could go ahead and get it done now, and that we didn't have to wait. I've also been talking to Mooney about reselling the kennels. Kurt has actually already started on those. And there's some old kennels that's been laying around for a while, which actually Mooney and Kurt's coming tomorrow to start working on moving them. So the cleanup at the shelter continues with the help of Melissa, Mooney, and Kurt. Chris with Security Innovations came on February the 29th. He installed a few new cameras and replaced some of the existing ones. I would like to thank Tracy Gardner. She has been sharing the shelter's adoptables on the tourism page. It gives the animals more exposure, so I truly appreciate that. Our numbers for February, we had 5 cat adoptions, 1 cat transferred to PAL. We had 5 dog adoptions, 8 dogs reclaimed, 1 dog transferred to Raw, 2 dogs to POW, 1 dog to Hart, and 1 dog transferred to Brew. At the moment, we have 2 cats, 7 dogs in-house, and 1 dog that you guys have pictures of that's in foster care. So the pictures, I talked a little bit about him at the budget meeting. He came in on February the 3rd, weighing 21 pounds. The second picture is him on March the 9th at 41 pounds. He will be adopted by his foster mom probably by the end of March. No major health issues, no anything. The VDAX report. Mr. Buchanan had asked me about some numbers at the budget meeting. I didn't have them. So this is the shelter's VDAX report. The second page, the number highlighted in orange are the cats that unfortunately had to be euthanized for reasons. The highlighted in yellow are the number of cats or kittens that the shelter took in for that year. That number is quite lower than I believe you guys were told by certain people. So I just kind of wanted to explain that so you guys could have the correct numbers in front of you. That's it.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Dotson?
No, it looks good out there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Sheriff? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Whoops.
Good afternoon. A couple quick things. Our calls for service had a total of 37 criminal arrests. The month of February, the biggest thing now is the illegal narcotics issue, trespass, assault and battery, DUIs, intimidation, assault, plus we have issues with underage drinking, underage vapes, and that issue, we're working on that also. This is the time of the year for our seniors, reference to scams. We're up and coming, anything and everything, we have issues, any concerns, someone gives you a call at home, give us a call. We'll be sure, more than happy to come out and check on if this is actually a scam or a real person trying to get funding out of you. Still having issues on Route 29 and Route 15. It's an ongoing battle. You can ask Mr. Jewett. He lives on 15. It's a daily. We're at it every day. Issues down on 15. It's continuing, and we're doing our best to try to resolve it, slow them down, but it's still an ongoing battle. So, quickly enough, that's what I have. Any questions, concerns?
Any questions for the sheriff?
I did want to ask
Please.
the sheriff. Sheriff, your sergeant gave out those stats at the last budget meeting, but just for the record, what was the average speeding ticket on 29 and on Route 15? It was phenomenal.
Between 90 and 100 on 29, between 70 and 80 on 15. That's an ongoing, even, one of our senior members here, Mr. Joe May, brought it to my attention today, you know, the 138 recently on Route 29.
It's crazy.
It's that time of year.
That's crazy.
It really is. Just be cautious, be careful. If you need to cross 29, I know it's much more of a burden. Try to go to a light. That way you know you can get across by the use of the lights on 29.
All right.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Sheriff. All right, Noah, come on down.
All right, good afternoon. I've got 2 reports. One's for Gavin, who's out on an ambulance call. I'll start with mine. So February was busy, 146 calls, 11 minutes was our average response time. We do have 1 part-time paramedic vacancy, and the majority of our team attended neonatal resuscitation training that was put on by Thomas Jefferson EMS Council, and that was really good training for the team. Any questions for EMS?
Anybody?
Gavin's reporting the FY22 Virginia Emergency Shelter Upgrade Grant. They're continuing to wait for final specifications and costs from the engineer. Stacy Timmons reported on 3/7/24 that they're making progress and that Laning is working on their HVAC control folks. Public safety, the facility tour and open house at Mountain View will be on April 10th at 7. All public safety members have been invited for the visit. We'll be visiting the nursing home as well as the campus and water treatment areas. The Public Safety Group met on March 8th prior to the LEPC meeting. They went over all the events to the end of July. Emergency Management Team, working on ideas to augment the Emergency Management Team for regular monthly on-call and major event staffing. This is based on lessons from the 2023 Quaker Run Fire. The goal is to be able to staff multiple operational cycles during an event over 24-hour periods to allow personnel time to rest and recover. We hope to finalize once the budget season concludes. Quaker Run Fire, I've completed and sent the expense packet to VDM for entry, and he'll advise further, et cetera. So, any questions for?
Any questions or comments on that? Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Tracy?
Well, I have some good news to offset the plow and hearth stuff, but Mad Pepper is opening tomorrow.
Hey, awesome.
Opening tomorrow, they're going to have Monday through Thursday, 11 to 8, Friday and Saturday, 11 to 9, and Sunday, 11 to 4 to start. Mainly the lunch and dinner. They said they've been asked about prime rib. They will try to do that eventually once a week, and they will move into brunch later on as well. So, and their ribbon cutting is Monday morning. And then Plow and Hearth, of course, we've had the announcement. We've called CareerWorks. They have a rapid response team. I tried to hit every outlet I could on stories, making sure people knew the retail shops would stay open. And Marty Baldwin with Rappahannock Goodwill, he's involved, and everybody's familiar with him. So they're working with me to do a job fair in addition to the expo, May 23rd at the fire department. But they also will have their team come directly to the employees to work with them. So there's going to be two kind of major, May 3rd and then September. But they will work with them. There's also the YOA training. It's equal to about $5,500 a year for training for the employees to upscale them for any other jobs they may want to pursue. So doing everything we can there. Also good news, Peter Rice, that's already there in box in, box out, does plan to expand to use more of that space. Also good news. We've already had people calling, asking about the space. They said they don't need any help right now, so they may expand more than what we're expecting. So that's good news. Let's see. We also are having a quad tank planning we had on the 26th. That will be held June 13th in Orange. That's for any entrepreneurs. It's for an existing business or a new business to start. We'll have $5,000 for the winner. So from each, we'll have at least 5 people going into for that. Broadband, we received an email from REC that they are currently doing make-ready construction along addresses for Pratt and Zeus area with Firefly. Right before I came, I got one from Brightspeed. Supposedly, they're up to their design speeds. They still plan to be done by December this year. We'll see. The VITA Spring Conference is Thursday and Friday that I'm headed to. After the ribbon cutting at Revelation that we had on Friday, I took a bottle of their wine, and we're supplying that. I bought that personally. So the winner of the golf tournament for VITA gets this basket of wine from everybody in our area. March 6th, attended the joint meeting virtually. March 7th is when I met with Jason Smith and Marty Bywalters Baldwin, Director of Workforce Services. Friday was the ribbon cutting for Revelation. I went to a library expansion meeting on March 9th on Saturday. So they're expanding their basement area, so they just want input from the community.
Now, when is the expansion?
It's an ongoing process. They have an architect they're working with.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I'd never been in the basement. They have a huge area down there. So they may use the children's area to put everything down there for the children. Study areas, they had somebody, a teenager with STEM. So there's all kinds of ideas in the works there.
Excellent.
Let's see. Oh, and also Thursday, March 21st is when we're having in here the dementia-friendly community meeting at 1 p.m. So that's for businesses, organizations, community members, whomever. Culpeper's already done it, Fauquier has done it. So we're working on trying to get that going here as well. Expo is the 23rd. The Helpful Herb is open, and we're working on a ribbon cutting. Biddy's Waxing across from the drugstore where Bulletproof was. Their ribbon cutting is on the 1st. And Rosie Beachy with Small Business Development Center will have a Let's Break to Educate at the Visitor Center April 1st. She'll help businesses search for grants, no RSVP needed. RSA will be moving into 2445 South Seminole Trail. Used to be the old Duck Right space. Their lease ends in June in Green, so I'm talk to Tim about doing a ribbon cutting for them as well when it gets closer. Cluster Growth Grant, we did hire a wine consultant, so I've been gathering data for them. VDAX is announcing a spring infrastructure grant program, as well as VTC grants. Pin Pines may go for the infrastructure grant, more to follow on that. And both of their AFID grants, their reports and their agreements are in the Attorney General's hands. That's the bulk of what I have. Business Appreciation Dinner is May 20th at Early Mountain. And you all are invited. That's
Good list.
all I got right now.
Anybody have any other questions for Tracy?
Well, it's
Thank
busy.
you. Thank you,
Thank
Tracy. Livingston.
I go talk y'all's ear off tonight.
All right.
The other night. Basically, now that we got the position outline done and we did the budget stuff, we are back to just doing our normal daily activities, working on the administration of the ERP system and our regular users and running our trouble tickets. We're going to be putting a wireless access point in the Kemper building, hopefully in the next week. We're also working to build the virtual server for the EMS folks. They're going to be using that to, I believe, help track their vehicles. And that should be ready soon, Mr. Noah. I got, in the next week or so, hope to have Laserfish, or MCCI and COECO in to do the top-down Laserfish review to see where we need to go on that. So that's in the works. ERP tickets, and I did fill out the JMU questionnaire for you. So that's about it. Anybody got any questions?
Anybody? Thank you, Livingston. Mr. Ferguson, you're going to tell us about dispatch.
Good afternoon. So for dispatch this month, for 911 calls from landlines, we received 115. Cell phones was 315 calls. Administrative calls into the center were 2,057, and we made 1,012 administrative calls. That's for a total call volume through the center for the month of February of 3,499. And that's up about 18% from last February. Our calls for service for this month was 1,195 calls for service. And there's a typo there. The calls for year-to-date is actually 2,409, which is about a 10% increase for our calls for service from last year. For our radio project, Brian gave me some information. So for our Churchill Tower site, the foundations have been poured for the tower, the shelter, the fuel cell, and the generator. The power conduit should be installed this week. And the Churchill fiber circuit was installed today at ECC in my office. So the other sites, the microwave antennas have been installed with the ice bridges at Hoover Ridge, Blakey, and Beautiful Run. Combiner installation is continuing at Hoover Ridge, Blakey, and Beautiful Run. Madison County's fleet mapping, which is our channel list, is completed by the end of this week, and we're going to start plugging it into radios to actually start testing. And then coverage testing is still on track to occur in June. That's when we had the most foliage on the trees and get to all that. My staffing in the center, I did unfortunately have to let somebody go, so I'm back to 2 vacancies. I'm going to advertise in the near future. Right now I'm going to focus on the 1 trainee that we have due to the limited space. That gives us the time to be focused and consistent with our training with that individual. Our elderly call-in list has dwindled down to 3 individuals. And I've been looking for ways to increase interest in that and encourage interest in it. And yesterday I was able to attend with the triad with 2 of the sheriff's investigators, met with the seniors at the senior center. And I was able to introduce myself and explain 911 system and how it works. But also gave them information on the HyperReach program for our alert notifications, and then also the elderly call-in program. And I left information there at the senior center for both of those programs, so I'm hopefully I'll be able to garner more interest in both of those. And with that, that's the end of my report, and I'm available for any questions.
I gotta ask, explain what you do with the elderly calling list. How does that work?
What we do is that we ask, if someone has, if they're living alone, they don't have family nearby, they can sign up to be on a list where they call into the center, and they do it every day. And we just check in with them, say hello, see if they need anything. If we do not hear from them, we reach out and try to call them. And if by a certain time we don't get hold of them, we'll actually initiate and send a deputy out to do a welfare check on the individual. It's just a way to stay focused with the community, let them know that we're here. I know I have a couple dispatchers that go above and beyond. They've actually gone out and taken individuals shopping, grocery shopping, and things like that, and done things off the clock. So
It's a good program.
it's a good program. definitely.
Absolutely. All right, other questions, Mr. Ferguson? Thank you very much. Thank you. Jamie Wilkes, tell us about building department.
All right, well, good afternoon. Lost my little page. All right, so on the building side, as you know, I just remind you, our new state building code took effect January 18th. And guess what? The state's starting the process for the next one. It'll be the 2024 code. It's a never-ending cycle, so it's something we're used to. One staff member recently attended the Virginia Building Code Academy in the building inspection class. I will be attending they call it the mid-year conference, where the building officials, inspectors, and various safety professionals get together and meet and discuss code issues. Good thing is, I received a scholarship from VBCOA and VML. They're basically paying for it all. And then I have a report in there showing our permits we issued. On the zoning side, you know, we're looking for advertising and searching for a new zoning administrator. In the meantime, we have a procedure set up, working with county administration, so anything zoning, planning, we have a procedure, and we're working through it. I believe the comp plan, I think Liggins last time submitted a draft copy, and then it'll just move from there. And we're continuing to foster our working relationships with VDOT, Health Department, DEQ, and any other agency we need to. Because without these relationships and working partners, you know, things get bogged down. So we're making sure those lines are open. I just got a note in here. I think the BZA has a meeting next week with a couple issues on it. Not issues, a couple variance requests. So on erosion and sediment control, just a reminder that the state has changed some things, and I believe Hannon and Jonathan are looking through it, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a painful process. Our zoning administrator received some information from the state about possible grant opportunities, so he's looking into that, see if it's anything that would be beneficial to us. And then they're updating, first time they've done it in about 25 or 30 years, the stormwater and E&S handbook. And I have a link or a flyer with a link in there that talks about what they're proposing to change, so if you're all interested in that. And then I'd just like to remind you, our website is constantly changing. It's not static. We update things as needed, but it's constant. And the last thing this week in Virginia is Flood Awareness Week. Flooding is still the biggest natural disaster in the state. And there's a flyer in there. We got a link on our website just to promote it, to help them with it. And other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, please, Judge, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question. You mentioned earlier that there was there's going to be a class for our local contractors to kind of come and understand what Virginia's doing and what they need to understand.
Yes.
So is that coming soon, or what are we?
It's not as soon as I think. We got, you know, missing the zoning administrator, trying to get in that field, getting our software going, so it's kind of delayed getting it together to put it on. But we will be holding one.
Okay.
It's beneficial to everybody, including us.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the contractors, and I didn't have information. So at this point, it's just
We haven't,
to be
as soon as
determined.
we got it scheduled, we're gonna promote the heck out of it. Not just the website, but, you know, Cardinal, all these different places where they show up, so they
Gotcha.
can know about it.
Cool. All right, thanks.
All right, anything else for Jamie? Thank you very much, Ms. Wilkes.
right.
All right, Greg. Animal control.
Good evening, gentlemen. All right. So we had a total of 80 calls handled in person, 91 calls handled by phone. And I did, you'll notice I did add another category on here. It was for the after-hour emergency calls, just to give the board an idea of how many calls we handle after hours. 26 of those for last year. That could mean anything from a cow out in the road, stray dog, major roadway, aggressive dog. Last week, we had a dog that was unfortunately hit by a car. Had to rush it to the Greenbrier Emergency Clinic in Charlottesville. Virginia Federation Humane Societies hosted a online training that we took. I'd like to recognize Alex Bencham, my deputy animal control. He completed several online trainings through the ASPCA last month. And just wanted to let the board know, around this time of the year, we don't receive a lot, but we receive some calls on coyotes, especially during the months of January through March. And that's because it's mating season for coyotes, which they become very aggressive. So instead of just giving out a telephone number to the citizens, I want to hand something out. So I reached out to David, who's the biologist with the Department of Wildlife Resources, and he provided me with this brochure, and I posted some in the back room there on the table when you walk out. Also posted it on our website, and it's a lot of information, also some booklets on how to live with wildlife, and just a lot of information on what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you can put out to just try to keep the coyotes at bay and not be a problem. Other than that, that's my report. Any questions?
Anybody got anything for Greg?
No, sir.
Greg, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jerry. Come tell us stuff about Parks and Rec.
Don't have much. We're busy getting all the fields ready for spring sports with our youth sports in the high school. We have over 550 registered this year for youth sports this spring, and close to 100 volunteer coaches. Our next big event will be the Little Wine Festival on April 20th. The sheepdog trials will be we've expanded that to 3 days now. It'll be the 19th, 20th, and the 21st. We're expecting over 80 runs a day, making it probably one of the largest sheepdog trials on the East Coast. With Madison. So. That's all I got.
We got anything else for Jerry? Jerry, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Pete, you representing the Plan Commission? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, please.
We're working on cases, obviously, that come into us weekly, monthly. And along with that, we have a committee that's working on boundary line adjustments. We have another committee that's working on junkyards, junk cars, however you may relate it. And then we're working on the comprehensive plan. So it's kind of what's going on with the planning commission.
Anybody have any questions for Pete? Pete, thank you. All right, I think we've hit everybody. We do have a consent agenda. We've got minutes from 2/13/2024 and then minutes from 2/15/2024. Anybody have anything on this?
Mr. Chairman, I found a minor error, and it's actually on page 100 of the packet that we got out. It relates to the past minutes, and it's a slight misquote of something I said, which is, I'm not nitpicking, but I think it's probably should really be accurately reflected in the minutes due to the fact that we're talking about local control over solar and wind siting. Can you find that, Ms. Turner, on page, in the middle where I'm talking about monitoring legislation that is proposed that moves through the General Assembly that relates to counties?
Oh, it's on 101 if you're looking on Adobe. Go down.
Little bit.
Say, yeah, that's the one. please.
So I know it's what you're talking about. Can I talk with you after about it further?
Change something, yeah.
No, I'm just, the word where it says trying to use local control, it's supposed to be trying to usurp local control. Trying to take it away from us, not give us anything. I'm sorry, I apologize. I mean, there's nobody that takes better minutes than you do.
No,
will
I
tell you.
appreciate pointing it out. I'll make sure to make that change.
Yes, we'll make that change. Certainly, you can improve it.
We
as
can
amended.
still, yeah, we can still approve it.
Right, I just wanted
No, it's good to see,
to point that out.
reading through it, absolutely. By
Well,
all
usually
means.
don't.
And then, what would y'all like to do? Any other corrections, comments, motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the one amendment to the February 15th minutes to replace the word use with usurp in the second paragraph.
I second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, Ms. Coppedge, come up and tell us about Madison Day.
Good evening, everybody. So Madison Day is, this year will be the 5th Madison Day. And I'm going to be honest with you, 5 years ago, I came up to talk in front of you guys to talk to you about this. I was scared to death. This time I'm not as scared. But, so Madison Day started 5 years ago, and it's an event that members of the community go out and help people in the community that need help work on their homes. And the first Madison Day, we were hoping for 100 people and 10 homes to work on, and we wound up having 300 volunteers and 19 homes. And last year, we had 675 volunteers, and we worked on 25 job sites. So Madison is just an amazing community coming together to love on their neighbors, and it's just amazing. So what I come to you to ask is, usually we have a lot of, we do any kind of job. So sometimes we have trash we need to get rid of or job materials. So I asked for, to waive the tipping fees. And we try not to do any jobs that need building permits, but I think once or twice we've had to. So we just asked if we could waive the building permit fees. And
Is there anything else you'd like waived?
nothing.
I mean, it is. I mean, how many volunteers are you gonna have this year?
So far, it's May 11th this year. So far, as of today, I have about 120 volunteers signed up, but it rolls from this point
Yep.
on. And we have about 18 job sites. And even the Habitat for Humanity from Culpeper contacted me today, and they want to come in and help too. So it's growing. And so I thank you for your support. The county and the community's support has been amazing.
What's his
in the town.
name? John, what's the man's name that?
Are you thinking of John Reed with Foothill Housing?
Yeah. Would he be somebody that we should put in touch? I mean, I know he does.
We can do that.
he's
Are you
community.
familiar, Karen, with Foothill Housing? The board generally funds it about a $7,000 per year annual. They do things like if it's an emergency ramp or maybe roof. I guess if I'm following the chairman
Now-
correctly, maybe they may have some projects
He's-
or they could collaborate.
He's come in front of us, he comes in front of us every year, and he's real community oriented. And I don't know, just talking to him for a couple minutes may be worth
Yeah,
your
I'd love to
time. I
talk to
mean, it's, I'm not, what he does with, the Foothills Housing, I think, if that would apply at all, that would be great, but I don't know, he seems to come with some action. And that's, I always look for those type of people, you know. What would y'all like to do with the tipping, floor fees and building permits and, I don't know, anything else we can waive for Madison Day?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the tipping fees and the building permit fees for Madison Day.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Ms.
Karen.
Coppell.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Shepherd, VDOT quarterly presentation. Welcome.
Okay, can you hear me
Yes, ma'am.
decently? Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to present the quarterly presentation. I'm Carrie Shepherd, the resident engineer for the Charlottesville residency. So to begin, we'll start with our preliminary engineering updates. What I'd like to point out on this slide specifically is that the R-Cut at Shelby is about to be underway. The construction's about to be underway. You might have seen some work out there already. We did some tree clearing in preparation of the actual construction, but you should be seeing some work out there very soon. And then 707 Pine Hill Road Bridge Replacement Project. I'd like to note that that advertisement is coming up this June 2024. And then the other big one to point out is the Route 656 Courtney Hollow Lane over Polecat Branch superstructure replacement. That is going to add this summer. I don't have a defined date, but we expect the construction to begin in September. The other projects listed have not changed since our last meeting. And then just to note also, I've had it in a couple of my monthly reports, but Desert Road is complete with the exception of a couple of the tie-ins for the driveways. We're going to come back in the spring. It's asphalt. We fixed the ones that needed some gravel, but the ones for asphalt we needed to wait till the spring. So we will be addressing those. And then next, let me pause here. And before I get into the secondary six-year plan, I will just see if there's any general maintenance concerns or questions for me.
Yeah, Route 230. Is that the one, Jim?
The one I was gonna ask all about, 230 west, east to be specific. Any plans to patch any more of that road until we get it paved?
I did bring the paving schedule, if you'll just give me 1 second. I don't have copies. Okay, but we can get this to you. So I have the 24 and 25 paving schedule. The 25 paving schedule, just to note, is not finalized. So when you see that copy, and it's a map and it's color-coded, 2024 is coded in blue, 2025 is coded in red. And so you said 230 east. It looks like that is not on our paving schedule. So I'll have to double check to see if we've got any patching planned out there.
Any highlights to look forward to this year?
Yeah, this construction season, you're looking at some locations on Route 29, on Route 231, and then there's a lot of secondaries. Weekly Hollow Road, Arrington Mountain Road, Kinderhook Road, Tatum School Road, Annie's Road, Weaver's Hollow, some sections on Ruth Road, Willis Road, Fishback, Crestview, and then Weekly Hollow Road and Etland Road.
All right. That 230 needs to be addressed. We all are together. All right, let's move on to, I understand we're going to talk a little bit about the six-year plan.
That's correct. So just as a reminder, the secondary six-year plan is the unpaved, it's the funding for unpaved roads, so gravel roads to be hard surfaced. And also, just as a reminder, some criteria around what qualifies is that the road must be in the state secondary system, which generally means that it has either prescriptive easement or right-of-way. It must carry a minimum of 50, but no more than 1,500 vehicles per day. Must be predominantly used for local traffic with minimum anticipated growth. Require minimal, if any, improvements to alignment and drainage features, and obtain a width for 2 vehicles to safely pass. 16 feet's a minimum, but I prefer to have 18 if at all possible. And just so you know, that Madison County has a total of about 85 miles of gravel roads at this time. About 40 of those qualify simply based on traffic counts. That is not talking to the other parts of that, which is the field review and checking the alignment and the geometry and hydraulics and things like that. But just so you know, that's rough numbers to keep in mind. Okay. So this is the title page for the secondary six-year plan, and this is just showing you your allocations. So telefees, it stays pretty consistent. We don't usually expect that to change, but the district granted paved funds, which is the paving, the hard surfacing of gravel roads funds, you can see that in 2026, fiscal year 26, you have an influx. So going from 294 roughly to about $370,000 for the remaining 5 years of the plan. And this is what the plan looks like right now. So as it stands, unless the board decides to change the priorities that are listed on the plan, Emmett Road will be fully funded this fiscal year, so we can get that done this summer.
And that's the whole Emmett Road?
It is 0.24 miles.
All right,
Yeah, I don't think that's the whole thing.
no.
Yeah, I think there's some additional
I
pieces
think
to that.
from Etland to the low water bridge, I believe.
You think we should include the whole thing?
Yeah,
Seems to make sense to do the whole thing while we're there.
because you got the low water bridge, you got, I don't know, 2/10 of a mile or so that's already paved, been paved for years. And then the other end that hooks up to Champlain.
Is that something you'd like us to look into?
Please.
Is the other portions of Emmett?
Yeah. The
Okay.
part that runs from Champlain, leaving Champlain and going back down Emmett Road as opposed to the Etland Road side going down. Follow, got me?
I believe so.
Okay, from Champlain in, I don't think is part of this. But from Etland Road in is this.
All right.
Okay, we can review that.
Thank you.
And then next on the plan, we have Whippoorwill Road. That's a section of 2.04 miles. Estimated cost is $552,000, and that will be fully funded in fiscal year '26. So not this summer, but next summer. And then as it stands, we have Walker's Mill Lane also on the plan, 1.76 miles. That will be fully funded in fiscal year '27. And then we have Turner Drive, the .44 section at the beginning, also programmed in. That will be fully funded in fiscal year '28. So with the allocations, as it stands now, that leaves you with a little over $1 million to program in the outer years. And that includes fiscal year '28, '29, and '30. You can see the remaining amounts shown on the screen. And I wanted to show on this same page, and I've got another page that'll kind of show a map too to help, but some proposed additions to the plans that we've looked at is Mount Zion's Church Road, and we've looked at these in the field. Let me clarify. We've looked at these in the field, and we feel like that they meet the criteria with our field review and including traffic counts. So Mount Zion Church Road, that's a 1.73 mile stretch, estimated to cost $410,000. Tom Johnston Road, it's about a half a mile, $100,000. And then Wrights Lane, that's about a mile and a half, $325,000 is our estimated cost. So the total for these proposed additions is about $835,000. I will leave that up to you if you would like me to program any of those and which priority, or none of them, it's up to you. Or if there's any others that you would like us to look at as well.
What about, I mean, Jonathan's going to chime in here, so but I'm going to steal his thunder for a second. What about the second half of Turner Drive?
I'm getting there.
Awesome, keep going.
And well, give me 2 seconds and we'll get there.
Good.
So just this next slide, again, is just showing the map of where these 3 roads are located. I hope you can see it. They're in blue. Maybe it looks a little better from your viewpoint than mine.
Is everybody, if I may interject, is everybody, I'm speaking director board, familiar with the suggested or the additional roads? Mount Zion Church Road it connects, if you're going Oak Park Road, and I believe it comes out, it's either John Tucker or Ellie Road, one of the two. There's paving on both ends, but that middle section is what they would, or that unpaved section in the middle is what they would
How's that
pave.
road, real bad?
There's a spot, there's a creek crossing there, with a culvert that could need some attention. No different than most back roads, I would say, from time to time. Tom Johnston connects between Carpenter's Mill, and I believe that may be Ellie Road on the other side. I definitely know it touches Carpenter's Mill, a small portion. I believe there were some culvert pipes replaced several years ago. And then Wrights Lane is right off of Route 230. I'm trying to think, in between 230 Market and the Cattle Exchange, there on the right-hand side. So those are the portions that are before you. I just wasn't sure if everyone was aware of their locations in the county.
All right, everybody got it? Any comments on it?
And then the last thing I say, I think we have about 85 miles of unpaved road. I get that from Kerry. I'm not trying to steal your thunder. But basically, of that, VDOT is not communicating that all of those would qualify for your six-year
yeah.
plan. They're going to look at whiffs and all that, some of which she's going to talk about momentarily. So These are roads that would qualify either vehicle trips per day is a threshold, and they have the appropriate lane width to do, is this rural rustic you're proposing, Ms. Shepherd?
That's correct, yep.
Okay, so those are rural rustic funds which allow for the dollar to stretch a little further and get more mileage.
All right.
So
yeah.
there's a resolution that's necessary for rural rustic, that comes from this board, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I just can't remember the timing of doing that, but okay, that's
So
good.
you'll have your objective here tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, and it's the board's decision. You're looking at the draft, and you're kind of giving direction of, hey, we like this, add this road, take it out, and then what you tell her here tonight is what would be set for a public hearing for the public to look at your 6-year plan. And then when you go to adopt your 6-year plan, that's the time that you would also do your resolutions. I think it's either late April or early May is when that normally occurs, Supervisor Yao.
Yeah, when we adopt it, yes. Yes, sir. So we don't have this.
Yeah,
in our
we need
packet,
this.
right?
Somebody's got to send us, yeah, we need the updated 6-year plan.
This is in your OneDrive. Our apologies, we did not have it by publication, so this is in your OneDrive right now.
Okay. So
Please.
is there a way, I mean, I can't make a decision on this without looking at it a little further and seeing that. So could we make a recommendation at the next board meeting?
Yes, sir, we can bring this back on the, 26th?
Yeah, absolutely.
To make comment to Ms. Shepherd.
Is everybody on board with that? Come back on the 26th so we can talk about this a little bit better than what we are with review of it. Will that work?
Mhm.
There you go. Let's add it to the agenda. Please proceed.
Well, one more,
Go.
just observation. So we got 85 miles, 40 of which would qualify. So we've got 3.5 in there over the next 4 or 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to
no.
have some dirt roads for a while, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So just to clarify, 2 out of those 40 miles, that's strictly on traffic count. They
Yes.
still need the field review to determine, which is what we've done here, but also just to clarify, these roads are not on the secondary 6-year plan as it stands. The draft stops, if you back up one slide, the draft stops at the top there at Turner Drive. That's the only thing on the plan. So that at the bottom, that fiscal year 28, $316,000, and then 29 and 30 each year of $368,000 is left unprogrammed right now. So if there's roads to be programmed, that's what I would need to know, and the priority prior to the public hearing.
Oh, yeah. Let us review the documents, and it does seem like the 6-year plan does give us all plenty of time to plan for this, but we can certainly get things together in the next couple of meetings so that we could go through it. And what's the public hearing, May?
If you approve in some fashion of what you want your draft 6-year plan to be, additions of this or additions of that, we would communicate back to Carrie, so it would probably be
Second meeting in
possibly
April?
second meeting in April.
Yeah, it looks like we
Will be your
approved the
public
last one the
hearing.
21st or so.
Of April.
That's
All right, so we've got several meetings between it. We'll review it, come back on the 26th, readdress, forwarding us any questions on to Ms. Shepherd, and then we can go from there. Sound reasonable? All right, anything else currently? Now let's keep going.
Okay, one more slide. Okay, so here's your answer to your question. So we also field reviewed a couple other roads that we did not recommend for funding. That include, and that was due primarily for all of these is narrowness and drainage issues. So Rochelle School Lane, Clore Road, and Turner Drive are all in the not recommended category. So however, for Turner Drive, we did do a little bit of extra work like you had asked. So we did our survey, we have the stakes still out there, and we did another field assessment as well so that we could come up with a rough estimate of what we think it would cost to upgrade that road and make the necessary improvements to where we feel like it would then be classified as a rural rustic and qualify for hard surfacing. This estimate is quite high, so just to give you a warning, but the estimate for that remainder, 0.23 miles, and this is just a rough estimate based on what we have at this time, but our estimate is about $937,000. And that is largely due to the amount of trees that would need to be removed and also utility relocations. There are some overhead and underground utilities that would have to be relocated. And there's also some substantial drainage issues. And I will also note that any estimate that's over $700,000, we cannot perform with state forces. So that would also have to be put out to bid and given to a contractor, because we are legally not allowed to do that work. Last not least, though, I will note, before I open it up to further questions, there is some legislation that is going through the General Assembly right now. I think it's been passed by the House and the Senate, last that I heard, but it would essentially give us the ability to use these unpaved road funds, not just for the end game of hard surfacing, but to make improvements to the road and not change it from gravel. I think that's going to be, if that passes, I think that's going to be an excellent opportunity for us to consider for some of these roads that are too narrow and have some of these issues. Maybe we can make drainage improvements to them, and maybe that's, the best that we can do. But so I think that would be a good opportunity. Just I'm not sure where that stands, but of course, based on the current plan, it would not be into the outer years anyway. So you would have time to let it go through where it needs to go, criteria established, and then, it would go to the end of the plan, years 5 and 6, or 4, 5, and 6.
All right. All right, questions and comments on that? Oh, man, 937 for .23 is awful steep. Yep, that's where I probably should stop that comment.
I gotta change
That's crazy. That is absolutely ridiculous. All right, who else has comments on this? Please.
Just to follow on with the Turner Drive issue,
Yes.
where are we as far as the obtaining additional right-of-way? Is that part of the process? Has that been, I know that was in discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, we performed our survey, and that is as far as we have gone at this point in time.
The survey, so when she talked about the construction needed, they did a survey assuming a certain width that would need to be achieved if it were to move forward, and there's different ways, as Ms. Shepherd talked about. Hopefully that General Assembly bill will pass, and that's more tailor fit to a road. But the surveying was done, so that's an estimate she gave basically, and it's cutting down trees, it's ditching with I'm not an attorney, but you can't just do a ditch. The water has to go somewhere, so there's watershed. Where does that go? Is there easements that are needed for the drainage, not just for the road width? So all that's in that estimate of $900,000 for that 0.23 mile segment.
So when you do the study, did VDOT go out there and put little flags so that the residents on Turner Drive would know how much of their property is involved in this?
Yes, there were stakes that were put out showing the existing prescriptive easement.
Yeah.
And then where the proposed right-of-way.
Okay, but so you all VDOT has not contacted those residents to see if they would give up that property, but they're just visually, they would know where they stand. Is that right?
The right-of-way recordation and dedication
Yeah.
would be the county's responsibility. So no, we have not reached out to citizens.
The 937 doesn't account for any purchase of any right-of-ways or
It does
easements.
not.
All right.
No.
And I had, through our
Please.
single point of contact, notified for residents that this meeting was had tonight so they could hear directly on the status. So right-of-way acquisition, we would not move to that unless that's something the board would say, please proceed. Ultimately, if we were to try to go in agreement, you still need to get to the funding source of that project. So
Go back up a slide, would you?
Could we get a mic to
Yeah.
anybody in Turner to
Yeah.
ask a question while she's?
Absolutely. Livingston, can you pass a mic to Mrs. Turner here? We have a question for her. Cardi, go ahead.
Oh, no, I
Up front, right next to Mr. Elias.
anybody that's here concerned about Turner Drive, I would like for you all to be able to ask Ms. Shepherd questions if you've got a question, so we can hear it and she can hear it.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to thank, I'm not really the spokesperson for the road, but thank you for asking me. I would like to thank Mr. Dewitt, Mr. Weekly, and Ms. Shepherd, and the VDOT for coming out. My concern right tonight is not so much the road, it's that tree that I think you all looked into. It's about to fall any minute. If we go out or if you are at home, we will not be able to because the tree is gonna fall, and I certainly hope it's not like this. Just on the upper end of the driveway, not that one that is, look like, there's two on the road. And, that's my concern for right now. Will the tree fall on a car, anyone walking, or anything? That's what we need to look into for right now. I think we were told that it was, one tree was taken care of, and thank you very much for that. But the other tree is still leaning, barely standing, look like to me. So I thank you for asking and listening to what I have to say.
Do you have any more location details about that? Is that on the, is that, if you're going down the road, is it on the left side? Going in. Is it on the left side? Left side.
Do you have a, Mr., is there a specific address that's
Yes.
near? I'm looking at GIS now, that'd be a good reference point for VDOT. Do you know a certain address of a certain home?
It's, I think they have a sign out that says Providence Drive.
Okay, it's a little chapel right there, it's right at that, okay.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, we can look into that. Yep.
Yes. And the other tree is on, Mr. Eric Turner's land. I don't know if VDOT will be responsible for that or will it be the homeowner? But that tree is worse than the bigger one.
All right, well, there's a maintenance issue that we can try to get addressed. Anybody else from Turner Drive have anything to say about this? Yes, ma'am, by all means.
I can bring that to you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, hello, everyone. Excuse me. We are very still concerned about Turner Drive. We sent out a letter saying that the residents very concerned about phase two. Phase one has been approved for the cost and the improvement for that part, which was .44. The .23 is the area that stops at 44, but goes over to the state line. So that area, even though the cost is $927,000 estimate, we are looking to see if there's any opportunities of getting some grants to help make that cost less. Is there, I understand there may be some state grants and opportunity to look for funding and making that happen. The residents have come together to support that. We appreciate VDOT coming out to do all the work that we've done so far. We've recognized that. The residents and the landowners have agreed to look at the survey and to grant access to land that is needed. We have a very busy street on Turner Drive because of the residents and the small businesses that are located there. We have the bus that needs to turn around for the students to get on the bus to make it safe. So even though it's a very costly project, the safety of the residents and the students and just, you know, going up and down that road will be accommodating. So I'm very concerned about that.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm a resident too on
And-
Turner
and
Drive.
your name, ma'am?
Patricia Gross.
Yes, ma'am.
Patricia Turner Gross.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. that area is growing. We even recently had another new home to be built, and there is more and more traffic. And the road, I'm sure my fellow homeowners and residents can understand and know that's the danger of passing, especially in the winter time when the roads are slick and we didn't have a lot of snow this year, but we did have some. The rain and the slickness of the road, it really, really needs to be upgraded. And I know that amount, $937,000, is steep. But if there are funds looking to be made available, it would be a good opportunity to upgrade. I believe it will really be helpful, and it will possibly cause someone not to have an accident, because there have been people slipping over in ditches and so forth. So, we look forward to that road being upgraded.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Thank you all. What else do you have, Ms. Shepherd? Because I've got a little bit of direction. What else do you have to add to this whole conversation?
That is all I
All
have.
right. It looks like we should probably track down the bill or the funding opportunity that Ms. Shepherd's referring to and try to figure out whether or not that one will pass and go all the way through and what options go with that. And then we can go down the path on evaluating that versus the 0.23 for 937. And then also with review of this, in the OneDrive, does it have traffic counts and stuff like that?
I believe traffic counts is in that report. For your 6-year, did you include, I think it was just your presentation.
I mean, we have those documents like we had provided, the draft plan, we had the traffic counts.
For those roads?
For the roads that qualify, yes.
What about other roads? I've seen lists in the past that have all the roads in Madison with traffic counts. Is that available still or
Oh,
not?
yeah, we could give you that too. if you
Yeah,
want
that'd be
that.
good. Let's do that as well. Any other information y'all can think of that you'd like from Ms. Shepherd, so we can talk about this in a more educated way?
Just one question. Ms. Shepherd, the improvements on that last stretch of Turner's Mill, does that have to be done all in one project, or could that be done in steps over time?
I suppose you could do it in steps if I'm thinking through, maybe phasing the tree clearing and the utility movement or utility relocations and things like that. And then maybe you chunk out drainage. I mean, I don't see why not. As it stands today, the way the funding is, as long as that end, your goal at the end is to hard surface it, we can do that. But again, if the legislation changes, there might be more opportunity to make those improvements without having the end goal being hard surfacing.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right.
But let me ask you,
Please.
so the folks on Turner Drive, your end goal is hard surfacing? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Just one.
No, that's fine. The only one that I think about, talking about cost, is doing it in segments. Would seem to be more expensive just on mobilizing crews to get them out there, which is a significant cost of any project. And it would seem to me like we talk about Emmett that's up the list. Why are we doing these in such little pieces? We need to be doing them and just move on, and then we can crush one challenge and move on to the next one. And I would think that would have something. There's got to be some direction there on some of these things.
Logistically too, I guess it would depend on how those crews, are they interoperable? Is it a sequential process, but I have to do this first, then I can do
Sure.
this? You may not have everybody up there at one time anyway.
Sure.
If you said, we're doing one big project, they still might actually be doing it in steps. I don't
Oh,
know, that's just my.
The one I was thinking about, Jim, and just an example, and you bring out the steps component of it, but if you're going to knock down a handful of trees, you might as well knock down the trees that you need for the entirety of the road, especially in relation, this isn't even not even 3/4 of a mile long. knock that step out and then kind of, instead of looking at it as two parts where you're going to send two tree crews out there at different times and just make the process even slower than it actually is. The other document that I'd like to see, and I haven't seen in a long time, is the paving schedule for the next couple of years. Is that available, something you can send out potentially?
I just emailed
Awesome.
the one that Ms. Shepherd referenced, the 2024 through 2025. I just note what she did in her email, that 2025 has not been finalized, meaning voted or approved at VDOT level. So what is approved in that schedule is 2024.
And you emailed it to us?
Yes, sir.
All
I
right,
just
thank you.
forwarded it while Ms. Shepherd was
Excellent.
speaking.
All right, anything else from Ms. Shepherd?
Can I add one thing real quick about the phasing?
Sure.
The only thing that might not work with phasing for this project is because it is over the $700,000 estimate, which means that we can't do the work. If we were doing the work, I would think it would be a lot easier for us to phase it. We could go out there and chip away. But if it has to go out to bid for a contractor, I don't know how we would phase it. That would be the only thing that I would have to look into.
Carney?
Now, no, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, when we talk 2024 and 2025, are we talking calendar year here, or are we talking fiscal years? That to me is,
This is fiscal year, so.
which starts July 1st.
That's correct.
Okay, I thought so, but then
No,
some of
might
the
as well ask.
conversation
Why
made it
not?
sound like.
Why not?
Okay.
All right, any other comments from Ms. Shepherd? No, sir. Okay.
So the reason that's split up is because that's how much allocation fiscal year '27 has. And as it stands, Walker's Mill Lane is the higher priority. So it got fully funded in '27. And then the remaining funding available was put to the next priority, which is the .44 section of Turner Drive. That had to be split for 2 years to get full funding. The difference between the section of Turner Drive already on the plan and the section that we're discussing is at the final piece, is that the beginning section of Turner Drive doesn't require the amount of improvements that the remaining section requires. The width is already there. We don't need to take down a lot of trees. We don't have to do utility relocation. It really is simply a rural rustic as it's supposed to be, which is we'll come in, do any necessary tree trimming, do ditching, minor drainage improvements. If pipes need to be replaced, we'll do that, and then we pave and walk away. So it's a different level of work.
Just to accurately depict the scenario, though, the work would not proceed until FY '29. Is that right for Turner? Till all the funding is available?
For the .44
Yes,
section?
yes.
We actually can start that in fiscal year '27, which is July 1, 2026. So we actually could do that summer, and then and then we'll just repair ourselves back that next year. Or worst case scenario, depending on what we've got going on our resources, it'll get done summer 2027.
All right. All right. Other comments on this? Thank you very much, Ms.
All
Shepherd.
right, thank you.
Old business, EMS compensation study. Mr. Weekly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll bring up that spreadsheet. So from the last week's budget meeting, you all have two handouts. One is the 11 by 17 that I'm going to speak to. That's the EMS compensation. And then the last was 8.5 by 11. There's some assumptions in there. So this gives you a big picture if you go to approve or look to be approving what's on the 11 by 17. So Kim has it up on the screen. where you see at the bottom, the column that says final approved, that should be final recommended. So my apologies, we are not trying to assume anything. It's just letting you know where we're at. That right column, Kim, go up a little bit? Yes, is the comp study team's recommendation. So that column on the right was as of last Thursday when we had budget discussions. And we had some discussions around public safety as a whole, even though we're bringing back the EMS portion today. We'll speak more to that as a whole with the overall comp study with the draft administrative budget recommendations at this Thursday's budget work session. So you have a note at the bottom of the 11x17. For public safety, the board and finance and myself, as well as those department head or constitutional officers, we talked about years of service, whether it was years of service with the county, and that's at a rate of 1.2%, if you recall from our budget work sessions. And then, do you want to consider any outside years of service? That means service in that profession. So you can be an EMS so many years at another locality, the same with law enforcement and so forth. But again, right now, we're focused on EMS. So, so the board's direction to staff and Ms. Warren, who is just crunching numbers as we speak, getting ready for Thursday, the board specified we want to cap those outside years of service at 5 years and calculate that as a rate of those years times 0.5%. There were also a recommendation, there's 2 different lieutenants. If you may recall, Chief Hillstrom had brought a recommendation of maybe creating 2 different tiers for the lieutenant position. One would be a lieutenant who had prior supervisory experience, management experience in that field, but they may not carry that paramedic certification. But you could enter into that lieutenant position, which would be a Lieutenant 1. A Lieutenant 2 position, you could be a lieutenant, but you're paid at a higher rate, and that's because you hold that paramedic certification. And where that's important, paramedics, Madison County, all of your ambulances that go out for call are advanced life support, or known as ALS. You'll hear some acronyms of BLS, basic life support, or ALS, advanced life support. That means a paramedic has to be on each and every one of those ambulances to make up ALS, and it takes a 2-person minimum to make up a truck. One of those has to be a paramedic. So the recommendation from Chief Hillstrom at the time we heard at the workshop, we've had conversation recently, so this is not news to our chief, is instead of downgrading the Lieutenant 1 position to a PS7, keep that at a PS8 level. And what that'll do, because you had to have some separation between the paramedics. So at the top of your 11x17, Kim, if you could move up, there you go, to new salary. Bring that in a little bit so the, our wonderful folks in the audience can see as well. Thank you. So we needed some separation between paramedic and Lieutenant 1 position. Because if we move the Lieutenant 1 down to a 7, that'd be equivalent to a paramedic. Well, in my opinion, once you hit lieutenant, you then have supervisory roles. So you have more on you. So that is the recommendation of putting that at an 8, leaves separation between a paramedic and a lieutenant. And then the Lieutenant 2 would be at a PS11. And that gives separation and does some good things for market rate. So those adjustments were made, and then we did also needed to go back and factor in those years of services for the officers, the 2 officers. That's our chief, well, our 2 top officers. That's our chief and assistant chief. So the numbers to your left, we had a slight change, not in the assistant chief from what was presented Thursday, but the emergency chief by using that calculation of the 1.2. And Jennifer did that on all of these from the midpoint where that 1.2 calculation was done. So those are the changes from last Thursday to the day. I believe it's about an 8K increase. Going back to the 8.5 by 11 sheet, which is your summary. If you are fine with these recommendations along, and this is not saying make a decision on this day, this is just forecasting what you're going to see Thursday. If you are fine with the recommendations today of the EMS portion, then you can see that number reflected in the summary sheet. The summary sheet is the sum of everything in the compensation study. So again, this was requested to bring to the board today based from our Thursday workshop. Those were the revisions made and the reasons why, and I'll stand by to answer any questions that you may have.
Who has questions for Jonathan on this? Anybody? I mean, this seems much more palatable than kind of our proposed originally.
And I did not bring my Greene County EMS sheet here. That is our closest competitor, if you will. If we're looking at EMS only, that doesn't mean we don't compete with EMS in fire, such as Orange or Culpeper or so forth. The EMT basic, we would just be just a few $100s shy at the $47.66. EMT advance, again, we're shy just under $1,000, so we're in that few $100 range. Intermediate, they do not have an intermediate, so I think that goes advantage our column at the $51,890. And again, I'm reading at the top right-hand corner of the new salaries for EMS. We are slightly ahead at the paramedic. They're a little over 53,000, and these are starting salaries. This is not everyone that's in that role. These are starting salaries we're looking at. Paramedic, we're at 54,485. Green is a little over 53. Our lieutenants, they'd only have one lieutenant. We have two different divisions. We're ahead of lieutenants as well, specifically when you get in that Lieutenant 2 ranking. Some overall, I think we've made strides. I think we're trying to be comparative. I do not think that, if you're looking at public safety as a whole, whether you dispatch or sheriff or EMS, they all have their good and important functions. But I do believe in the pay scale that's brought for you today, and that would be staff, the study team's final recommendation.
So Jonathan, is this smaller summary, so you got emergency medical services in there, total expense, 179,023, right, on the 8.5 by 11?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Okay.
Where is that number on this 8.5 by, the 11 by 17? Or you not folded those in yet?
I see what you're saying, and I will check with Ms. Warren on that.
Okay.
Because those numbers should match. If I add the 16,
No.
you still don't get to the 179. So I will ask Ms. Warren of that.
No,
Mr.
but thank you. So, but overall, these are the things we discussed last week, and I think he's covered, it's rolled everything that we talked about into these numbers, so.
Right. Having the unified policy at 0.5% for 5 years cap, that's a good policy. That should increase our competitiveness a little bit. We understand it's not as far as to be super competitive, but essentially you're down to 126,950 new monies. I think that's probably as far as we certainly can go, and that's a huge amount of money anyway.
Absolutely.
Is everybody okay plugging these numbers in so we can go at an administrative recommended budget this upcoming Thursday?
Yep.
Very good. Any questions, comments on this? Thank you for turning it around so fast.
Thank you, and I'm texting Ms. Warren now,
Yeah.
so she may pop in. But we thank you for pointing that out, because those two numbers need to match if we're going with that plan. And who knows, if it's positive, we'd take the 143 over to 179, but we will get you that answer for the board.
All right. Everybody else? You thinking it's including
I'm
benefits?
thinking, one of them doesn't have fringe in it.
That's probably correct, and that's what I'm seeing on that left column.
Yep, that's it, I see it. 143 is on the left, and then there's all the fringes. Yep, that's it. Sorry.
No,
That's
good
it.
catch.
All right. Anybody have any other questions, comments? We look forward to meeting again on Thursday.
Yes, sir. On Thursday, again, we'll have the draft admin budget recommendation that include the compensation study. So again, more detail, but your overall summary sheet that will go with that. There's some revenue discussions in there. We're going to have to make some decisions on tax rates, which you may want to do there, as well as open appropriation from your fund balance, which we've been doing for a little while now. So look forward to those discussions on Thursday.
All right, anybody else on that one? Talk to us about the strategic planning presentation at JMU. Please, Mr. Weaver.
So what I wanted to do is have this on the agenda. First, thanks again to Supervisor Jewett for spearheading that strategic plan efforts for the county. It's something definitely needed, and he has definitely got his faculty and students on board. We had an opportunity to go over the JMU campus and really hear directly from the students who will be working on this. And it's something that I can report back that without even knowing where they're at today, they were definitely energetic and capable and ready to be given this assignment. So I like for this opportunity, if it's okay with Mr. Jewett, to speak of kind of the next phase or towards the end of the project, and certainly that's going to lead us into any advertisement of a meeting. So that way we have the date and the advertisements required. Mr. Jewett, do you want to speak about the April date?
April 27th is competition day where the top team will be selected by a panel of judges. And fortunately, I was allowed to recommend a few judges, and they both accepted. One of them will be Supervisor Jackson, our chair, which is appropriate, and the other one is Senator Bryce Reeves has agreed to be one of the judges. So we've got a strong representation from our side of the mountain, our constituents. The program's going very well. They did what was called the first sprint, which was the first initial development of the plans, and I saw them last week. And actually, Supervisor Buchanan was in on a Zoom call, and there were several teams that are really impressive. Competition's heating up. I understand they're spying on each other. So they're taking this really seriously. They're enthusiastic because it is something very real, very relevant, and can have a huge impact, not just on Madison County, but localities around the state of Virginia, maybe even beyond.
And the whole idea, though, Jim, for the April 27th April 27th, I don't know, procedure, presentations, everything, would to be able to have the whole board go over and see this in front of these 100 kids that are young professionals that are putting this thing together. The question is, and Hannon, where are we at on advertising and making sure that's illegal so we all can go and participate?
Sure. I think one of the questions is going to be in terms of the actual facility, just whether it's, an auditorium. If it's going to be an open public meeting, then we've got to just make it open to the public. So I think that's the only sort of nuts and bolts question to it. As far as how we do it, our bylaws allow for it, code allows for it. Either the chairman calls for a special meeting or 2 members of the board. Then we can worry about the notice piece. And like I said, the facility it's being held at is going to just matter to make sure it's accommodating, and then
He says it's accommodating. Why don't we just advertise this like a regular meeting?
Right.
And then we don't have to do the special meeting, which we never do, and, or we don't have to do a continuation.
Yeah, it would not be a recognition of continuation, just do a regular meeting.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to continue and then pick up.
Well,
the question would be that I have, not to be a burden on JMU, are they planning on recording this?
I don't know. I'll have to ask.
And is it we're trying to figure out, we were talking recording also versus streaming. So if it's something that we can accommodate, or would JMU be able to accommodate that? And then we could post that to our page, just like any other meeting.
I don't see where it's a problem to stream it. I'll ask.
The other one that I think have to come to play is that when we meet and have an advertised meeting, we have to come to session. Is that correct or not, Hannon?
Yep, and we also have to publish an agenda ahead
Yeah.
of time and take minutes at it.
Is that something that they would entertain us being able to do?
Oh, yeah, they're happy to accommodate.
There you go. Why don't y'all work with, why don't you work?
Directly with
Yeah.
Supervisor Jewett. We'll take care of minutes, but we just need to talk about the
And-
recording and things of that nature.
Well, won't ask Gracie how much it is to advertise or to advertise, but y'all just go ahead and advertise for the 27th.
We will.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else got anything on this? It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'll keep y'all updated to where we're at.
Well, thank you. Sheriff's cars, Mr. Weekly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And nothing really for your packet, but I do want to bring up, and we do have the sheriff here tonight. We spoke earlier. Right now in your FY '25 draft, I'm going to speak directly to capital because that's where you would plan for and fund fleet vehicles. Right now, unless something changed, there are 5 new cars budgeted at $55,000 each. That's turnkey, whether they're lettering them, outfitting them, or whatever. The sheriff has made the request, could we purchase one now? And if you did that, the request for FY '25 would go to, it would go to 3 new and 1 used, the 3 still being at the 55K number, and the used being at 32K. And facilitating a request of purchasing a vehicle now, I've spoken to Ms. Warren to verify how we would fund that. There's roughly about $20,000 remaining in the sheriff's capital fund. So you would take that and then have a use of contingency. So that would wrap up. I think you're able to
35.
negotiate down to about 52K. So you would need about 32K from your contingency fund. So if the board is fine with that approach, we would prepare a supplemental for your next board meeting for the 52K that would show the contingency use and the capital. If you are wanting to go sooner, we don't have those documents. You could direct us to do so, to use those funds. But if you wait till the 26th meeting, we could prepare the supplemental appropriation showing that. And then we would simply, if you're also fine with the FY '25, 3 new, 1 used, I will get with Ms. Warren, and we will revise the FY '25 capital, which would be reflected in Thursday's work session.
Sheriff, if we buy one now, does it drop the count 3-1 down to 2-1 for 25?
Mr. Chairman, right now, we have approximately 5 to 6 cars coming due. We purchased 4 or 5 years ago, all at one time. They're coming into 120, 130 by this time next year. And that's what we're trying to take care of some of the vehicles all out of the fleet. That's what we're trying to do. I know it's a burden, but that's what we're trying to do.
All right. So to answer the question, 3-1 still what you need next year. You'd like an additional car for this year.
Yes, that's correct.
What do y'all want to do here? I think that if we do approve it, we can administratively approve it, just move on, get this thing going. What do y'all think about the idea of using the 20K and then the 30 from contingency?
So what I would like, sir, because it is
32.
contingency,
Yeah.
if it pleases the board, make a motion to authorize the county administrator for funding the sheriff's vehicle in FY '24 budget with the following breakdown. It's a total of 52,000. Would that suffice, Sheriff, 52, or do we need to go to 50?
Excellent.
52 is the number. So your funding sources would be 20,000 from the sheriff's FY '24 capital budget with 32,000 from contingency. The contingency part's why I'm asking for a vote, because we cannot do anything without a vote on that. So if you.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. How much is in contingency now?
Yeah,
It's the full, well, I'll tell you what, Ms. Warren.
Yeah, Ms. Warren snuck in when the seating became available. Where are we at, Ms. Warren? Thank you.
A couple things we have it tagged for, that 311, I would say 150 of that is already accounted for. So roughly 150,000 right now that can be used out of contingency.
So this would take it to 125 or whatever, 120 something.
All right. What do y'all think?
Where did we start with contingency? We started with what?
311.
So the 311 is the number. That doesn't count that set aside like 144, 147K for the contingency for the schools. That was part of that 2% increase. That was part of the General Assembly's late budget decision in September. So we haven't touched it yet. Now, we know there will be some things we need to cover in EMS. We need to cover our 2% for the raises from this, the December. So Jennifer has analyzed that, and if you deduct those things, we still have plenty of funding for the 32K from contingency, and then still leave us a margin of error. I don't want to speak it into existence, but any other emergencies that may arise between now and June 30th. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
All right.
Call for the question, Mr.
Yep,
Chairman.
motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go. New business. I'd like to deal with these kind of all in one. Yes, sir, thank you all. I'd like to deal with these three items probably all together. Ms. Turner, please.
All right, so we have a few things to consider. The IDA, which is the Industrial Development Authority, has two members whose terms will expire April 11th, 2024. That is Steve Grayson and Douglas Parsons. Both are willing to serve another 4-year term if you would like to reappoint them. And then also, you all advised that staff advertise in the paper as well as on our website. So we did for one position for the Planning Commission and one for the Encompass Community Supports Board, who both had vacancies. For the Planning Commission, we received one application. That was Zachary Whitman, who also serves on our Development Committee currently as the chair for that. And then for the Encompass Community Supports Board position, we received one application from Sarah Berry, and she comes with lots of experience with the this type of material. So all of those are for your consideration for approval and reappointment for the IDA members.
I think unless anybody has any trouble, I think we can do them all as one motion. We have IDA as Douglas Parsons, Steve Grayson, Planning, Zach Whitman, and then Encompass is Ms. Essie Berry. What would y'all like to do?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the reappointment of Steve Grayson and Douglas Parsons for the IDA, Zachary Whitman for the Planning Commission, and Sarah Berry for the Encompass Community Services Board.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, discussion, comprehensive plan. Mr. Weekly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I hope this wasn't mislabeled. It's under discussion for kind of talk about where we're at and maybe what would be recommended to kind of get us to a draft. I know Jamie mentioned it earlier, but we don't have a full, complete draft at this time. I spoke to Ligon. Part of the downloading before he departed was where we're at with the comprehensive plan. He has been working on drafting a lot of it, but also had Mr. Peter Rice, Mr. Peter Work, and Mr. Don McCown from PEC working on different things. It's my understanding the last two portions that were being worked on was utilities, and there's going to be a part for Parks and Rec, or Parks in general, which is Hoover Ridge and so forth. So I wanted to bring it before the full board tonight and kind of get your preference. Staff, when I say staff, that looks like me, Brian Gordon, whoever. We can do a deep dive and try to absorb all this, compile it, present it to you as a draft. When I say to you, it generally goes to Planning Commission and then to the board, or if you want joint sessions, just let me know. Or would you like to, and it would still be staff involvement, but to engage, you utilized Patrick Montage Group at the beginning. The regional meeting was just, I think last week, Supervisor Dawson and I attended, And I talked to Patrick afterwards, and he is willing to engage. I think there was some money still remaining from the original proposal that we signed for them to do a kickoff. And I have a meeting this Wednesday, so that'd be tomorrow at 3. I have, I think Supervisor Yao, Chairman of the Commission, Steve Carpenter, and the 3 individuals that I spoke of to really download, where are you at with this, and can you provide me some documentation? So the question would be, how do you have a preference to get to a final draft? And if so, it would be utilize staff or use some of the services. The RRC services, I don't see that as being this exorbitant, let's throw another 20,000 or something like that at it. But it really would be beneficial for them to see where we're at and provide a proposal. And maybe there's enough funding left over to do that. But I really need at this point kind of a sense of direction. What I want to get to a draft is because it hasn't come before the planning commission or the board yet. And we get it to draft form, I can know, is it just minor revisions? Are there major overhauls? That's really why I'm looking to get a draft to everyone so we can identify, is this really 6 more months of work or is it some tweaking and fine tuning? So I really want to have that discussion level today with the board to see if you have any thoughts or recommendation. I do see some value of having at least some small level of assistance from RRC to try to put this together with the work that's been done prior.
All right. I got 2 real quick. Anybody have any issue with Jonathan and his staff and anybody else working with RFC, with Patrick's group? I think working with him and Miss Little, they bring a whole lot to the table, as they always do. The real question that I was going to shoot at is what kind of timeline you're looking at to bringing it to the Planning Commission as a final component. What it appears, though, is that you genuinely are not, not meaning any derogatory way, you're not really at that stage yet.
It would be unfair. I mean, I can give you a guesstimate date, but I do not have a prepared timeline because I need to really see where those 3 gentlemen are and go from there in a conversation with Patrick.
Couldn't a direction be, I know Cardy's going to chime in here, is to go down, have your meeting tomorrow, talk to Patrick and his group, then come back to us on the 26th with a direction of where you think this thing is at and going?
Yes, sir, that should be feasible. I have a meeting prior to the 26th with Patrick. So what we get tomorrow, next step, then Patrick, yes, sir. So we can come back on the 26th.
All right. What you got?
Yeah, that's it. I was just going to say, so there's one element left, and that one, I mean, the transportation one was the most involved and one of the most complicated ones to satisfy what the state is looking for as far as that goes. So that's done. The final element is the one we'll meet on tomorrow. A lot of it's been done. And let's see, I'm trying to find that element. And I think when we had a contract with RRC to do this, Jennifer Little came in and started, and Pete, you were in on most of the 4 elements that have already been done. I think, like, you are familiar with those, right, Pete?
Yeah, but, and I'll just say this, you take it for what it's
Yeah.
worth. I think it would be wise to get the planning commission involved into it now, because I see some things there that I know you guys and the planning commission is not gonna go along with.
Yeah, but as soon as we get this final element, yeah, definitely. But my point is, there's been, Pete and Steve Carpenter, at least we've had 2 sets of eyes on it so far. So, yeah, I'd say we engage Jennifer Little and compile this last element and then get it to the Planning Commission and, of course, to us, too, while they're contemplating their changes. That's the way I see it.
But taking it to the Planning Commission as a complete draft instead of just pieces of it, so that we can look at it in a holistic way and start trying to figure out what's best for Madison.
Yeah, the complete draft, it doesn't preclude you from going through each section.
Oh,
And
no, no,
work
no,
sessions,
you're going
you
to.
may want to schedule, the plan commission may want to schedule, just a couple set aside work sessions for that, so you can take it through order, but definitely getting you the whole complete draft. Because sometimes comp plans, one section will point back to the other, so it's important that we get it right and we have the feedback from the planning
Community
commission.
facilities and utilities.
All right, which one's the last one?
Recreation, community facilities, and utilities is the one that's not complete yet. And that's the one, I think Brian had done some stuff on the utilities, right?
It wouldn't be to this extent. We're doing that for economic development. I haven't looked at where they're at. I'll learn more tomorrow on utilities. I don't know if they speak of, the water and sewer infrastructure that we have and how that plays out. Obviously, who owns it? We know it's Rappahannock Service Authority. But the work that Brian's been doing and we've been talking about, along with Supervisor Jewett, is really identifying resources and where they're located. So whether it's data centers that need 230 kV, do we have that? Where are our power lines? Natural gas, where does that intersect? Do we have rights to those connections? That's what we've been exploring for economic development purposes. Could play into this, certainly so, but that's the level that's been involved so far.
Yeah.
Are y'all, and I'm looking at you down there, Jim, because I know Brian's same way, but are y'all looking at fiber as a utility that's potentially available?
We'd be looking at all infrastructure.
All right. I mean, I would think that would have to be a component of utilities, not just looking forward at the Firefly and the Brightspeed connectivity, but more about kind of what's down 29 and some of the main thoroughfares.
Yeah, when we explore that, we'll have to look at, we could certainly identify what's there, but you would probably, where I think you're going is, do we have rights to tap in or not?
sir.
And that's the question we'd have to
That's
get
correct.
answered.
Verizon's very receptive, I understand. There you go. All right, anybody else have anything on this? You're gonna come back on the 26th with a synopsis?
Yes, sir.
All right, anybody else have anything? Any information and correspondence? All right, back, yes, sir.
If I may, real quick, I didn't speak on the zoning part. The two BZA cases that are scheduled for March 19th, one is a very small triangular piece of land that recently sold. It fronts both Meander Run Road and Ford Shop Road. There's survey stakes around there now, and they have applied, these were in the pipeline before me assuming, but they are applying for a variance of setbacks. In order to make that work, VDH still has to answer one question for me so I can give to the BZA. Depending on the class of well that the next door neighbor has would determine the setbacks they have to be from that. So they may or may not, even meet qualifiers that would allow them. But that's one case. The other, and Hannah and I are working on this on another parcel that's further down. But on Luther Lane, there's a residence that is a private road. They have applied for a variance to the recently amended private roads. I think that's section 2-29-1, which was amended from 4 lots on a private drive to 6 on a private drive. What was recently discovered, and I talked to E.J. Burke, a surveyor, went back through the land records for Brian Daniel and physically saw when Luther Lane or that land was subdivided between North Frontage and all the way back to O'Neill's, there was a 30-foot road easement that was filed there at the courthouse. So predates 1967 zoning, but the question will be, can you subdivide? We know R1, the lot sizes for that, but I do want our attorney and I to discuss that a little further. So those are two BZA cases. For the Planning Commission side, I know we have Powell Bannon coming back for, he has a site plan. He wants to put in at least 2 of the 7 storage buildings. That was part of a rezoning, probably at least a year or so ago. So that is one. And we have some things down the pipeline, some rezoning maybe such as taking the split zone C1A1 to just an A1. So Powell Vannon is one I'm tracking for storage unit site plan for the Planning Commission workshop, as well as Mr. Elliott specified the junkyard ordinance and the boundary line adjustment. So got a little more work to do, but those are things I wanted to report on from the zoning forefront.
Yes, sir, thank you. All right, back to public comment. Public comment. Yes, sir. Please, Mr. Elias.
Mike Elias, thank you. I just wanted to finish with saying that when the Hart project came up first time and they were getting ready to spend $2+ million on a project, what I think we should do in the future when things like that happen, they're getting ready to spend $2 million in Madison. What we could have done, and I had a vision, I'm not a dog person, but I had a vision of 100 acres or more with Hart adoptions, access for public school buses to come and walk dogs, public awareness, a dog park tailored to Madison's historical contributions for tourism, dog and pet stores, a vet clinic, restaurants, pet-friendly motels, all in one area with public access. That's what I had in mind. And that's what I think the direction that Madison should have gone here. Right now, it's back. It's not too late for that, by the way. Right now, it's back in a corner with no public access. No, there is no opportunities there for the public to see what's going on. There's no pet adoptions going to be there. They got to do it off-site. There's no way for school buses to get in there. They got a terrible, they're going to have a rough time with getting volunteers in there and staff. And I just don't see any future there for that. But there is a future in Madison for Hart, a dog park, and all these things that I mentioned here. And I think we missed a big opportunity there. And that was really the main thing I saw out of all this. I think we really missed an opportunity, but I don't think it's too late for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Pete?
I know you guys don't like to hear guys complain. You know, I'm not complaining about the tax rate or what the taxes is. I pay my taxes, I move on. But I've asked several times about several operations I see in this county. And I sat here on the planning commission, and I know if those people were rezoned, I was here before they was. I haven't seen anything. And where I'm talking about is a lot of tax dollars. This place out here on 29 that's got 9 scraper blades sitting up on the hill, has built 2 or 3 buildings, got $3 million worth of equipment sitting down there. That property is A1. And those guys have never been in here to ask, can we rezone this? How do they get away with that? They say it's farming. Every time I ask somebody, it's farming. What are they growing? Mulch? Because that's what they're selling. And if you're selling stuff, you're retailing. That's a business. If you're going out putting mulch down for people, you mowing grass, you're retailing. That's a business. We got that one out here. Now we got another one that came out of a business over here in Brightwood that's twice as big as they are. And you can't even see them. Nobody knows they're there. I got a call to go look at a house, and I wandered on it by accident. This is real tax dollars. Real tax dollars. And the problem I got is I don't have a problem with the tax rate. All of us pay the same. If you're going to be in business here like I am and like Clay is, like everybody in here is in business, you pay your taxes. These people coming to our county needs to pay their taxes too. And then we sit here, you guys sit here, we get a project in here and we sit here and we beat our head against the wall. What can we do to make this project work for Madison County? Because I guarantee you there's nobody here in this room that wants to see business any more than I do. And we figure out a way to make this business work, and we tell the people, you go do these items and we're going to let you work here in Madison County. We're going to let you have a business in Madison County. I go by the thing when the thing is supposed to be done and all the things we put on them. Nobody's done anything. You know, we approved a thing out here at Shelby, and they're supposed to put up this fence and have 5 cars and put a bathroom in, do all this. There's 30 cars sitting out there now. It looks like a junkyard. The people didn't pay any attention at all what we said. You go over here at Brightwood, and there's a lady over here at Brightwood moving those little buildings in left and right for people to stay in overnight for like a bed and breakfast type, not breakfast, but a bed type thing. If she's got 1.5 acres of land, if it is R1, which I think it's probably A1, I haven't looked, it's 3 acres per use. So how could she put a house there and then put 5 buildings there to rent out to somebody? Each one of those buildings is a use. I know you guys have got your hands full. I know you got problems. I've been there and done that. But these things the people of Madison County deserve to get taxes off of this, so the old folks in this county, taxes don't go up. I know you guys have got to raise them this year. You got no choice. Anybody that's got a brain knows that that's going to happen. But these guys need to help out. Don't mean to be bad, but I think it needs to be looked at.
Thank you, Pete. All right, any other public comment? All right, what would you, we don't have a closed session, what would y'all like to do? Yes, sir.
Following up on the JMU meeting, if it's going to be a regular meeting, we just need to pass a resolution before that, so I'll get it drafted to you all before the next one.
Thank you. Well,
And I think it's pertinent, and I appreciate
there you go.
Mr. Elliott bringing it up. We'll get the board an updated list of NOVs. There are a couple of things we're tracking, but I want to make sure if they're on our radar or if they're not. But I do know there's some NOVs specifically around special use permits, some who received them and didn't follow through, and one who started that Airbnb in Brightwood and didn't. I actually gave them word today that that is not prohibited. They have a garage above their apartment above their garage that is listed as part of the Airbnb. So by right, they can only have one short-term rental in R1. You can't have more than that. That one actually has a condition on their septic permit. We talked to the health department that I guess when that apartment was done, you can only have 6 people total between the house and that apartment. So I spoke with them today and informed them that one short-term rental is that apartment because it's listed, so we can't have the other cabins. But I do appreciate that because it's things that we need to know about and address. So Jamie, we'll get together an NOV list. We'll send that out to the board. And Mr. Elliott, I definitely want to make sure you're part of that too, sir.
Already.
Yeah, I got one thing just for clarification. So our real estate tax rate is the same regardless of the zoning, okay? Whether it's a piece of property is zoned A1 or B1, the difference would come in when it gets assessed. And if a B1 property would typically get assessed higher than A1. So you wouldn't realize it until you got assessed and it went up, so. But we only have one rate across the board.
Yes, sir. All right, anybody else? What would y'all like to do?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This conference is no longer being recorded.